going on YouTube? All right. So I grew up in a middle class community. Most of you guys know that. Um, and there was a fair amount of us. There wasn't too many, but there was a couple of middle class families who had, children. I had black middle class friends who were male and female. Right. But in terms of who we were exposed to, right, we were in classrooms, and for the most part, we were the only black people in there, right? So naturally, growing up, going through puberty, going through adolescence, you start to find you naturally have a openness to different races, right? This is how it is. I remember in middle school, not even middle, elementary school, having crushes on some of the white chicks in there, them liking me. We used to chase each other at recess. You grow up open because that's who you're around, right? You're almost exposed to interracial dating without even knowing it, right? You're kind of socialized into naturally being attracted to people from different races because that's all that's around you, right? So through middle school, when people started dating, it was common. It was common for, right, the black guys to date the white chicks or the Mexican chicks or the Asian chicks. And it was common for a lot of the black chicks to, be going out with the white guy or the Hispanic guy or the Asian guy. Like, it happened. Not as much as with the black dudes, but it happened with the girls. Even in high school, right? I still have all, the pictures, when you go to the little dances and you share pictures and you have the yearbooks, right? So, it'd be a picture of me and my date. And it'll be a picture, and whether she was white or Mexican, depending on who I took, or even black. And you had the black chick, and she went with the white guy or the Asian guy, right? And we all traded pictures, and it was all love, right? That's how it was. That's how I grew up, right? I never grew up. I've pretty much never been in any type of community that was predominantly black, right? Never. So like I said before, all throughout high school, the black kids that I grew up with, male and female, were all socialized into interracial dating, right? We were all exposed to it, right? Before we even started to, think of the opposite sex in a sexual manner, we were already exposed to interracial relationships. That's one of the features of growing up black middle class. You're naturally, predisposed to interracially date. So what happens, right? So you have a group of men, right? You have a group of women who prefer to be open in terms of race, right? They don't favor one side, but they just prefer to be open. So what happens when you get older? You go to college and you graduate from college. What happens? People no longer people stop dating just to date. People begin to start dating in hopes of getting married, right? People, when you get older, dating takes on a whole new meaning. Like, dating for me 3 years ago is different from dating now. I'm looking for, more advanced features, I guess, right? I'm looking for more, I'm just looking for more out of a person, right? I'm seeing how they fit into a family scheme. So here's what happens. You have the women, the non-black women who grew up middle class just like the black men, right? So what happens? They're thinking about marriage too, right? But the social pressures of interracial dating favor black men as opposed to black women, right? Non-black women have an easier time socially marrying outside their race than do non-black men, right? There's a whole lot more pressure on white men or Asian men or Latino men, right, to marry within their own race group or ethnic group. The pressure is a whole lot more because they are seen as being the protectors of their group, right? That's how they're viewed. That's how they're seen, right? If you're a white man, you're expected to produce white sons, right? To keep on, the strong lineage, right? But if you're a white guy and you marry a black chick, what happens? You're having a black son. Whether you like it or not, you're having a black son, If you're Hispanic, same thing, right? As a man, you are expected to do what? Carry on the strength of your race, right? Keep everything all good, keep it strong, keep it Mexican, right? What happens? You have a son, right? Maybe you marry a white chick or a black chick. What happens, right? Your son is going to be considered black, right? He's no longer going to be seen as, a strong Mexican warrior. He's black. Not to say that his community is going to love him any less, but it is what it is. He's more black than he is Hispanic. That's just how our society is. So there's more pressure on non-black men to marry within their race, right? And that pressure does get to them, right? I even get pressure in terms of marrying a Nigerian, and we're all black, and I still get pressure in terms of, I only want to see you with a Nigerian chick. So I kind of understand how that pressure feels. But for non-black women, the pressure is not there. When they get older, yes, it's still there, but they're not instilling in, these women that, the good of their race is based off of who they have kids with, right? The social pressures in terms of them producing offspring that are completely whatever racial background they are is not necessarily placed on them. So they have more freedom, they have more luxury. Historically, in marriage, the wife leaves her family and she pretty much adopts the family that she marries into. That's why you have some cultures who prefer to have males as opposed to women, because they know the males stay in the family and carry on the family name while the women leave and they pretty much adopt the new family. That's why we have the whole changing of the last name. It's not just it sounds good. There's a reason behind it, because she, in a sense, is abandoning her family and helping out a new family. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. So the social pressure, right, the cultural pressures of having non-black women protect their race isn't there. So how does that relate to black people? Well, you have middle-class whites and blacks who were grown up to naturally interracially date, right? But when they get older, they're not interracially marrying because, like I said, the cultural pressures differ. So you have a lot of black women who, quite frankly, are upset because they're open to race and their whole lives they've been, pretty much having luck with non-black men, but when it gets time to marry, they're out of luck. While as opposed for the men, black men, it's business as usual, right? I grew up interracially, and now I can marry interracially because the non-black women don't have the social pressures that the men have. So what does that mean? So you have a lot of black women who are upset because they can no longer have a open preference for men because they're looking to get married. So the only group of men that they can marry are black men. So that's where we get this whole issue with interracial dating, right? A lot of the people who are complaining about interracial dating tend to be people who find themselves in the middle class, whether they grew up in the middle class or, they got a good job. You look at the class of the women who are complaining about interracial dating, right? They're complaining because they're not interracially marrying. So I hope I didn't lose too many people on this one. I'm just sharing, my perspective on how I grew up. So hopefully it makes sense to you. Let me know how you feel. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Take it easy. Peace.